It's been a tough season for the Dallas Mavericks. We all had high hopes for them after they made it to the Western Conference Finals last season, but it now seems like a distant memory. They are going to miss the playoffs for the first time since the 2018-19 season. Their recent games have exposed all of their weaknesses. There's no more hiding from the truth. Their mask has been ripped off, and their flaws have been taken advantage of by opposing teams. It's now time for the Mavericks to go back to the drawing board and figure out what's not working for them. So what happened? Who really deserves the blame? It all comes down to one thing: roster construction. The Mavericks roster just didn't seem to be clicking, and that's where the problem lies. And that means the responsibility falls on the shoulders of those in charge of building and managing the team. That's right, I'm talking about owner Mark Cuban, GM Nico Harrison, and even coach Jason Kidd to some extent. They made a huge mistake last offseason when they let Jalen Brunson walk in free agency. That was the move that set the tone for what has happened in Dallas this season, and now they are paying the price for it. But hold up, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll get into the details of it all, but first, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a beat when it comes to NBA news and insights. Now, when people are looking back on the failures of the Mavs this season, there will no doubt be a lot of loudmouth shock jock narratives from various media outlets in the coming weeks and months. A lot of people are quick to point the finger at Kyrie Irving, but don't let that noise fool you. That's not the real issue here. Kyrie has been perfect in his role. The truth is that Kyrie Irving has been a valuable asset to this team, and the Mavericks would be fortunate to keep him around. Even Doncic himself has been quick to defend his teammate, saying that the real issue lies in Dallas's defense. Doncic said, "I don't think offense is the problem. I've always said this. It's our defensive end. I think anybody can score on us. Whoever it is, anybody can score on us." Dallas knew they had made a mistake in letting Brunson go for nothing, and it showed early on this season. And so they tried to fix things by trading for Kyrie Irving. But did they think that was the solution? Sure, they needed another superstar to pair with Luka Doncic, who's been carrying the team with one of the highest usage rates this season. I mean, yeah, Irving is a great player and all, but at what cost? Dallas gave up a ton of assets to get Irving, and it didn't pay off for them this season. Think about it. Does Kyrie make that much of a difference for the Mavericks? Is he really worth the defensive loss of Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie on offense? No. Hear me out. I'm not trying to hate on Kyrie or anything, but when you really think about it, I'm not sure if Kyrie's offensive skills alone can make up for that. I mean, sure, he's a great scorer, but defense wins championships. But let's be real. This move seemed like a move made out of desperation. They gave up a lot to get him. Yeah, I know we all love to see some buckets being dropped, but let's not forget about the importance of defense here in this league. The Mavs have been having a tough time keeping up with their opponents, and a big reason for that is the departure of Dorian Finney-Smith, as he took the Mavs' perimeter defense with him. They ranked 20th in the defensive rating this season, and this is not good for a team fighting for the championship. And it's not just their perimeter defense that's suffering either. Their interior defense is straight up atrocious. They have been giving up way too many easy buckets in the paint, and their perimeter defense isn't doing much better.
It's just, you can point to teams, the Hawks, everybody where, there's frustration. It's not unusual in the NBA. There's only one winner and everybody else loses. I was talking to Kyrie, and it's like if KD had half a shoe size smaller, we're in a whole different universe.
The Kyrie Doncic duo. We all remember when the Dallas Mavericks made this blockbuster trade at the deadline, right? The idea was to pair him up with Luka Doncic and create a dynamic duo that would be unstoppable in the Western Conference. But unfortunately, things haven't exactly gone according to plan for the Mavericks. The idea of Kyrie and Luka playing together sounded amazing on paper, but unfortunately, it hasn't worked out that way. The team has only won 5 out of the 16 games they've played together, and that's not good enough. When you add in their poorest defense, it's easy to see why they're sitting in 11th place in the Western Conference, and they are out of playoff contention. Yes, Kyrie and Luka can light it up on the offensive end of the court, but when it comes to defense, they're a liability. And let's face it, relying solely on three-pointers and offense to win a championship just isn't going to cut it. Sure, the Mavericks might be fine from an offensive standpoint, but defensively, they're a complete mess. Since the big trade, bringing Kyrie Irving over from the Brooklyn Nets, the Mavs have had a rough time on the court. With a record of 10-17, this has led to a lot of speculation and finger-pointing from the media, with many questioning the chemistry between Irving and superstar Luka Doncic. And it's true that there have been some key moments where the lack of chemistry has been painfully obvious, leading to some clutch time tough losses. And of course, injuries have also played a role in their struggles this season. Mavericks GM Nico Harrison recently spoke out about the team's performance, admitting that they haven't quite found their rhythm yet. But he did mention that the lack of consistency in the starting lineup due to injuries and trades have made it difficult for the team to fully mesh. Nico said, "The potential is limitless. I think you have a Ferrari and a monster truck. You know what I'm saying? Both amazing and awesome machines, but different styles, which makes us super dynamic. They can play off each other. They can play with each other. The combinations are limitless, really, and there's not that many players in the league that are as good as those two are." The Dallas defense. Before trading Dorian Finney-Smith in part of the deal to acquire Irving from the Nets, the Mavericks were already showing signs of decline in their defensive execution compared to their impressive run to the Western Conference Finals last season. And now, things have gone from bad to worse. It's clear that losing Finney-Smith has left a massive void in the Mavs defense. He was their go-to guy and the best on-ball defender and low-man option for the team. And not replacing him has only exacerbated their existing issues. The situation has been bad to the extent that the Mavs have been trying out some unconventional lineups, like using Dwight Powell or Maxi Kleber as their center, with 4 guards surrounding them. But it's not really worked out for them. They can't seem to generate enough production against the tough competition in the league. And it's not just their lack of continuity on defense that's hurting them. Their interior presence is seriously lacking too. Last season, the Mavericks had a solid defense with the pieces around Doncic to shut down their opponents. But they're now relying heavily on their offense to keep them in the game. As I have said earlier, Doncic and Irving are a dynamic duo on the offensive end. But it's a different story when it comes to defense. They're getting torched out there, and it's not a good look for the Dallas Mavericks. They're struggling to find their rhythm and turn things around. The offseason. The offseason is always an exciting time for NBA teams. But for the Dallas Mavericks, things might be a bit nerve-wracking. With limited options to move draft picks and a handful of bad contracts on their books, the Mavericks have a tough road ahead if they want to upgrade their roster around their superstar, Luka Doncic. And if that wasn't enough, they can't afford to lose Kyrie Irving to free agency, as they did with Jalen Brunson last summer. It's gonna be a tough offseason for Dallas, no doubt about it. But the big question is, what happens if they can't bring back Irving in the 2023-2024 season? How will that change their strategy around Doncic, their top player? Only time will tell. We all know that Kyrie has had his fair share of controversies and blemishes on his resume in the past. However, since joining the Dallas Mavericks, there have been no issues or problems whatsoever. So, if the Mavericks can get this version of Kyrie for the foreseeable future, they would be wise to sign him to a new contract this summer. And while they're at it, they should also focus on retooling the rest of the roster to build a championship caliber team around him and Luka. What's next? As you know, the Mavericks entered the final game of the regular season with a slim chance of making it to the play-in tournament in the Western Conference. However, instead of going all out for the win, the Mavs management decided to call it quits early and focus on the bigger picture. And what's that bigger picture, you may ask? Well, it's all about the NBA draft lottery that's set to take place on May 16th. With the loss, the Mavs now have the 10th best odds in the lottery, which significantly increases their chances of landing a top draft pick. And this could be a game changer for the Dallas Mavericks, as they might be lucky. Who knows? Maybe this is their year and they'll finally strike gold. And what's even more exciting is the possibility of a fast and successful rebuild with the addition of some new young talent. So, what do you guys think about the Dallas Mavericks front office decisions? And with the way things are going, will they really keep Doncic that long? Let me know in the comments below. And when you're at it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our uploads. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.